Caretaker. What else? What about owner? How do you forget that? I have to pay my... Who do I have to pay? My what? Land.
Lord.
I don't worship him. He's not my master, but he owns my land. Simplicity. Keep it simple. Landlord. Everybody clear on this? Okay. We say Lord of the ink pot. Yani sahib. He owns it. He uses it. He has mastered it. Everybody clear on this? So therefore, some of the people of knowledge, they say that the word Rabb originally pertaining to Tarbiyyah is to make something reach its level of perfection step by step. Allahu Akbar. Step by step. It's for me to allow something to totally flourish and blossom, but not all at once. But to do what? Shay'an, for shay'an, for shay'an, for shay'an. Very important concept. Another of the classical ulama, or another classical alim said, Insha'u shay halan fahalan ila hadd tamam, is to make something grow up from one situation to the next until it is finished. And we say here perhaps that Tarbiyyah Islamiyyah is to raise a human being step by step fi jami'i jawanibihi, in all aspects and spheres of life, seeking the happiness of both worlds in accordance to the Islamic methodology. That's the most comprehensive definition. Raising a child, or we say comprehensively raising a child, spiritually, physically, financially, mentally, nourishing, all comprehensively what? Raising a child progressively, Nafis, step by step, piece by piece. But why? Ibtigha ad-darain, or ibtigha sa'adat ad-darain, seeking the happiness of both worlds. In other words, I'm only feeding you my son because I want you to be happy in this life, and I want you to be happy in the in the what? The hereafter. Why feed you the halal? Just because it's halal? No, because I don't want Allah to be angry with you. I don't want you to grow up doing bad things, making sins, taking the haram. So the parent is seeking the what? Happiness of both worlds. He's seeking the happiness for the child in both worlds. But all of this has to be done according to what? Al-Manhaj al-Islami. The Islamic way. The Islamic methodology, Islamic method, the Islamic path. Everybody clear on this? This is what the word Tarbiyyah al-Islamiyyah could possibly be defined to mean. Tayyib. Now, let's ask the question. When we give this definition, why did we say a human being, insan, man, including a woman as well? Why do we say this? Why don't we say raising a Muslim child, a Muslim human being? Why do we say this? We say this because we wish to make Tarbiyyah Islamiyyah of everyone. If the child is Muslim, if the child is not yet Muslim, if his fitrah or her fitrah have been taken away, waliyadhu billah. Everybody clear on this? Nafis? The Muslim child who remains upon the fitrah, we want to keep him upon the fitrah. And we also want to do what? What's your name in the back, Yaqi? Risal. Risal, type. The Muslim child that we're making tarbiyah of, right? We want to, now I'm going to test you just a little bit, okay? Inshallah. This is not a lecture, this is a workshop, it's going to be interactive. We said that the Muslim child, we want to make tarbiyah of, right? You have a school. You're making tarbiyah of this child, correct? The first initial, or not the first, but from the most important things that you want to do in your school is to keep the children upon their fitrah. Correct? They were born as Muslims, to keep them as Muslims. Everybody clear on this? Good. What else do you want to do in your school? Risal, based off what I just taught you and gave you. I want to increase their fitrah. Give them more. Make them stronger. Because the fitrah is something that's only basic in general. There's no detailed knowledge. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in the hadith of Abu Dharr radiallahu ta'ala anhu, collected by Imam Muslim, Ya ibadi, He says, O my slaves, kullukum dallun illa man hadaytuhu fastahduni ahdikum. Allah says, oh my slaves, all of you are dal, except for those whom I guide. Seek my guidance and I will give it to you. And this word dal does not necessarily mean misguided, but it means someone who is unaware. Someone who doesn't have all of the information. Or it could mean misguided. Allah says, وَوَجَدَكَ ضَالًا فَهَدَاكَ. فَهَدَاكَ. We don't want to go too deep in that. طيب, the ضمير. خير. المهم, وَوَجَدَكَ ضَالًا فَهَدَاكَ. Yani, Allah found the Prophet ﷺ and he was what? Astray? We say this? We don't say that. We say he was what? Unaware. مَا كُنْتَ لِي. Allah says, مَا كُنْتَ تَدْرِي مَا الْكِتَابُ وَلَا الْإِيمَانِ. You didn't know what the kitab was, O Muhammad. You didn't know what iman was. وَلَكِنْ, Allah says, جَعَلْنَا, we've made it a nur. So therefore, in your school, ya akhi, you want to keep the children on fitrah, and you also want to do what? Push them up. Because the fitrah is only something that is basic. The fitrah is what? It's basic. Now, who's next for the next question? Your name, please. Manish. Mavish. Type. You want to keep the children upon the fitrah in your school. You want to enhance the children's fitrah, their Islamic upbringing and education in your school. What else do you want to do?
You also want to be able to let them grow.
You want to leave them and let them grow and get it themselves a little bit too as well. Good. Ahsant. Nafis, what else do you want to do in your school? Your school is a school for Tarbiyyah Islamiyyah. It's an Islamic school, huh? Your mission statement. You say you want to do what? Keep them on the fitrah, enhance them, let them grow. What else do you want to do?
Make sure they're straight.
Ahsant, you want to keep them? No, you don't want to keep, you want to straighten them. Because even if they're not totally pushed away from the fitrah 100%, there's certain means of what?
Disciplines.
No, there's certain things that they have deviated in from their parents and their older brothers and siblings. So not only do you want to nourish and educate in this, but you also want to do what? Straighten. It's crooked now. You as the principal, you have to now, you have to straighten the child. It's not just fun and no, you have to actually fix bend it, put it back into place. Everybody clear on this? And you also want to do what, sister, your name? Or Muhammad or Maisa. Type. What do you want to do? You came a little late. Came a little late. Muhammad also came a little late. Let's go back to this side. What else do you want to do in your school?
Authority.
Huh?
Authority.
Authority. In other words, you want the children to realize, not to make yourself like you're the boss, I'm in charge, I'm the chief of this tent, but the children, they have to know that there's someone who is in charge. There will be rewards if you obey and do well and excel academically. And there's going to be discipline. And there will be punishments if you disobey If you fail to excel academically, if you do not participate, let alone bother and prevent and hinder other children from excelling. This is crucial. And it's not so much just for the child or for you or for your school, but this is the way of life. This is also means of tarbiyyah, intellectual tarbiyyah. You have to teach the child from a young age, listen son, listen daughter, in life there has to be law. There has to be order. There has to be authority. If there's no law, if there's no order, if there's no authority, there's chaos. And when there's chaos, there is no peace, there's no happiness, there is no development. Like, everybody clear on this? So it's very important for us to stand and take what we've taken. Okay, inshallah, moving on. The next point from the definition, I want to go back to what I want to mess with now. We said man, Muslim or non-Muslim, in your school, you have Muslim children, and you have non-Muslim children. So, let's ask a question. Nafis, if you had an Islamic school, would you allow non-Muslim children to go?
Why not? Yes.
Would you? Sheikh?
Sure.
You would?
Yes.
What about you, Bisad? You would allow a non-Muslim come to your school? What would you say, woman? No. No way. Yes or no? Khair, inshallah. Fine. Al-Muhim, let's make another scenario. You are a principal of a school and you're a Muslim, but the school isn't Muslim. Or you're a teacher, a school teacher, and you're a Muslim and it's mixed children. Some are Muslim, some are not Muslim. Is it still your responsibility to make tarbiyyah? Yes or no?
Yes.
Without a doubt. So when we say tanshiyatul insan, raising man, Muslim or not Muslim, whether we have to straighten it 100% or straighten it just a little, whether we have to enhance it 100% or enhance it all the way. Everybody clear on this? Khairan, inshallah. Moving on. We then said shay'an fa shay'an. Bayan anna tarbiyyah taqumu ala tadarruj. This proves that Islamic tarbiyyah has to be gradual. And it cannot be forced all at once. And this is a capital mistake that many people make on a daily basis. They wish to force it upon the child. You have to memorize the entire Quran in a month, in a week, in a year. The sister, she accepts Islam, you have to wear hijab instantly, overnight. She just came from kufr, thinking that Allah was one of three. Shway. Have some patience, Yahi. Have some tolerance, some forbearance. But let's stick specifically just to children, and let's not deal with grown-ups. The child needs time to grow. The child needs time to develop. And as a wise man once said, sometimes the best flowers are those who take the longest time to blossom. There's no doubt about that. So the murabbi, the one who's giving the Tarbiyyah Islamiyyah, he has to understand that the Tarbiyyah Islamiyyah is something that is gradual stages. You ever ask yourself the question, why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala create the heavens and the earth in 6 days? Why didn't He create them all at once? Kun fayakun. You ever think about this? Allah could have made everything exist and it would have existed. Yet and still He created it in 6 days. For what purpose? To teach His slaves and to give them an example that things should be in what? Progressive stages. Step by step, planning, executing, not all at once. We then said, ibtigha'a sa'adat ad-darain, seeking the happiness of both worlds. Why did we say this? Or why did the author here say this? What reason? Seeking the sa'ada, the help, the blessing of both worlds. Why? Number one, he says, احترازا من التربيات التي تهتم بالحياة الدنيا فقط مثل التربية الرأسمالية والشيوعية وغيرها. First is there are many types of tarbiyah, many types of cultivation that only deal with materialism. That only deal with what? Materialism. There's some schools you go to, this is what we offer your child, this is what we give your child, this is the programs that we have, this is our organic lunch, this is our playground, our basketball court, etc. When there's no spirituality for the child, no morality for the child, no type of religious consciousness and awareness for the child. And this is even found in many Islamic schools. Some Islamic schools, unfortunately, is totally absent. And some Islamic schools is there, but it's weak. It's very, very feeble. And most Islamic schools, in my humble opinion, there is a sense of Islamic identity and personality, but it is inferior to that of the dunya. The biggest focus is placed on worldly education. The biggest focus is placed on who you are in the worldly life, and not as a Muslim. Are we making this up? Most cases, and this comes from the parents themselves being totally influenced by the dunya. And being, unfortunately, many of us being slaves of the dunya. And being people who wish to look, to be, to sit, to drink, to eat, to talk, and to live like the kuffar live. وَلَا حَوْلَ وَلَا قُوَّةَ إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ. This is a very dangerous, and it's a very serious issue. Number 2 is احترازا من التربية القائمة على الرهبنة وازدراء الدنيا بعدم العمل فيها وكلاهما مناقضان للمنهج الإسلامي الذي يهتم بالإنسان في دار معاشه ومعاده. The second reason, who can guess what's the second reason why we gave it that definition? Is the exact opposite of the first reason. Some schools only deal with spirituality, Islamic education, that's it. Quran, Adhkar, Zuhud, that's it. You're monks. These children are what? They're just monks. There's no work, no education, you don't need a license, you don't need a car, you don't need a house, you don't need a responsibility, you don't need to get married, just stay in the masjid and pray and read Quran and make dhikr. That is also wrong. And that is not the Islamic methodology. Everybody understand this? There has to be a what? Balance. Balance. And we say this all the time, we'll say it again. Many Islamic movements, cause, da'was, many of them, they lack what? They lack this balance. Many Islamic personalities, when they speak like this. Or they speak like that. Very sad when you find someone that's balanced. Even when you're pushing an Islamic agenda, it's balanced. I've come to you today to speak about hadith. The Prophet says hadiths. And we have hadith on character, on belief, marriage, making a living, taking care of your children. There are hadiths on going to sleep, hadith on waking up. You can keep the worldly balance inside of the Islamic what? Everybody understand this? This is what we call hikmah, or fiqh, proper understanding. Hey, inshallah, let's move on. You have more batteries, Abu Naila? We say here, what's the proof for this? Khair, inshallah. We'll take a break and we'll stop in 10 minutes. How long was this first session? Oh, it's an hour now. Khair, inshallah. Just a little more. قال موسى عليه السلام في تمام دعائه واكتب لنا في هذه الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة إنا هدنا إليك والمعنى اكتب لنا في هذه الدنيا حسنة من علم ورزق واسع وعمل صالح وفي الآخرة وهي ما أعده الله تعالى لأوليائه الصالحين من الثواب. What's the proof for this, brother Isal? What is the dalil that your Islamic tarbiyah has to be balanced? What is the dalil that your Islamic education and cultivation has to be a means of seeking happiness in both worlds? Because my sheikh, my imam, and my masjid, he said that Tarbiyyah Islamiyyah is only spirituality. And another person, sheikh, said that Tarbiyyah Islamiyyah is making sure that the children grow up and be responsible in the worldly life. It's just not plausible. Muslims differ. What is the proof that this is the correct understanding of Tarbiyyah Islamiyyah? What's the dalil, you may ask? The proof is what Allah says in the Quran al-Kareem, speaking about His beloved Prophet and Messenger, the one to whom He spoke directly, Musa alayhi salam, Kalim al-Rahman. He said in the completion of his dua, in Surah Al-A'raf, the 7th chapter, we know Moses is spoken about in great detail. In chapter number 7, the wind-curved cliffs, the Araf. Everybody know this chapter? Chapter number 7? in the Quran, very important chapter in the Quran, Surah Al-A'raf. Allah speaks about His prophets and His messengers, and from them is Musa alayhi salam. And we know that Musa alayhi salam is the most as we previously mentioned, and that was what surah Nafis? What surah do we say that Fir'aun said to Moses, have we not raised you as a young boy? Who can remember?
Isra.
La, not Isra.
Shura? No.
Shu'ara, Ahsant. That is the surah called the Poets. Allah speaks about the what?
Poet.
The Poets. Now, Musa alayhi salam was spoken about as a young child. Allah tells us when he went to Pharaoh. Allah tells about him and his brother Harun. Allah tells many things about Musa alayhi salam with the Israelites that were in the desert, etc. Now, when they fought, the list goes on. Here, Allah tells us that Musa alayhi salam, he made a supplication. He made a dua. He asked Allah for something. He begged Allah for something. And at the end of this dua, he said, وَاكْتُبْ لَنَا. He said, oh Allah, please give us, ordain for us, bless us with what? فِي هَذِهِ الدُّنْيَا حَسَنًا. Give us good in this dunya. And then thereafter, إِنَّ عُدْنَا إِلَيْكَ. Indeed, we return to you. So Musa alayhi salam, he asked Allah to write for them, to ordain and prescribe for them good in the dunya, which means knowledge and good rizq, abundant rizq. There's nothing wrong with that. Oh Allah, increase my wealth. Oh Allah, allow me to have money to take care of my family. There's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing negative about that for a man or woman to be wealthy. La bas. For you to have good clothes, la bas. Eat good, healthy foods. There's nothing wrong with that. Islam does not promote starving yourself or just eating bread and water. That's not the way of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. But the fork in the road is, if I can't get my 5-course meal except through haram, I'm not pleased with Allah Azza wa Jalla unless I have my 5-course meal. I oppress people, I go against Allah's commandments to get my... Everybody understand this? In other words, the Muslim is pleased with what he has. If he has 3-course, 5-course meal, salad and soup, or if he has bread and water, alhamdulillah. The Muslim only seeks the halal rizq, whether he has bread and water or whether he has steak and lobster. Everybody understand this?
Alhamdulillah.
Inshallah. Khair, inshallah. And wallahi, ikhwan, brothers and sisters, I cannot explain how important and crucial this is. Because as I said, there are many Islamic movements and groups that push to one of the two sides. And very few of them have a correct understanding of the balance in the middle. So Musa alayhi salam, he said, oh Allah, give us knowledge, give us expansive provision and sustenance, and give us righteous deeds. And then thereafter, give us what Allah has prepared for His righteous awliya, His righteous chosen slaves. The last and final point in defining the term Tarbiyyah Islamiyyah is what? We said what? Huh? What do we say? Who can give me the definition, even from your notes, quickly? What do we say Tarbiyyah Islamiyyah was? The final definition, the technical definition.
Education.
No, the final, complete definition. We said it is to raise a human being, to comprehensively raise a child, progressively, through steps,
by seeking the happiness of both worlds.
Seeking the happiness of both worlds. And there's more, one more piece.
It must be step by step.
All this has to be done in Islam.
Exactly, very good job. Very good job. According to the Islamic manhaj, the Islamic methodology. This is the final point of the definition. And the reason why the author mentioned this, he says, احترازا من التربيات القائمة على غير منهج الله تعالى كالتربية اليهودية حيث أنهم أهل علم عرفوا الحق واتبعوا غيره بالتحريف والتضليل. وكذا التربية النصرانية حيث عبدوا الله تعالى على غير علم. وأيضا خروجا من التربية القومية والتربية البدعية التي تزعم أنها على منهج الإسلام وقد حادت عن كتربية الصوفية والمتحررة وغير ذلك من التربيات المنحرفة. والتربية الإسلامية تعيد الإنسان إلى جادة الطريق تعرفه بأن الله تعالى هو رب الناس أجمعين. He then says, the reason why we said this, according to the Islamic methodology, is to avoid methodologies that aren't Islamic. Any religion or faith or way or practice inside or outside of Islam, we said what? Is not the Tarbiyyah Islamiyyah. Whether it's an entire different religion or whether it is something that Muslims practice that's not based off of the Sunnah. What is the difference between this and between when we said seeking the happiness of both worlds? It sounds repetitive to me. We said when we mean seeking the happiness of both worlds, that excludes materialism. Now, so what is this last point? What's different about the last point? Anybody want to take a guess? Or we didn't understand the question? Sorry. We said, who can repeat the definition again? In your own words, as long as it's accurate. To raise a child.
Raise your child gradually, slowly, step by step.
Gradually and thoroughly. Yani raising includes all aspects of life. Spiritual, physical, mental. Also, step by step. Gradually.
Islam.
For what purpose though? To seek the happiness of?
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Both worlds. To seek the happiness of? Both worlds. According to the, not correct? Islamic methodology. The what? Islamic methodology. So therefore, when I raise my child, when I make tarbiyyah, and I seek the happiness of this life and thereafter, it is a means of materialism, or material tarbiyyah, worldly tarbiyyah, and it's also spiritual tarbiyyah. Everybody clear on this? So therefore, there are some people who have spiritual tarbiyyah, but it's not what? It's not Islamic. In other words, there's some means of education and cultivation that has nothing to do with spirituality. Such as communism, for example. And then we have education, cultivation, which is spiritual, but it isn't what? It isn't Islamic. It isn't what? It isn't Islamic. Whether it is another religion besides Islam, or whether it's inside of Islam but it's not according to the Sunnah, the way of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Am I clear on this? In other words, you cannot raise your child based off of the cultivation of another religion. Nor can you raise your child based off the cultivation of things that Muhammad did not legislate, did not imply for us to do. Everybody clear on this? Khayr, inshallah. Alright, let's take a break here. Bi-idhnillah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then when we come back from the break, quick break, we will have some things. I need a few volunteers to read English though, please, inshallah. Khayr, bi-idhnillah. If you have any questions about what we mentioned, we will take them in the beginning of the next session, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wallahu a'lam.